Hello, welcome back to Called to Homeschool, episode number 312, When Love Becomes a Cage, How Good Intentions Can Suffocate Our Kids. Friends, how in the world are you? I'm always excited to be here. Can you believe it's Mother's Day weekend already this week? Do you have any special plans? I asked for manual labor this year. I really wanted dirt. That's where I am in my life right now, where I want dirt and I want my family to help me put that dirt around the yard and shovel it and all and do all the big manual labor. So, really excited about that. Just my yearly reminder that Mother's Day, your family is terrible at reading minds. You are terrible at reading minds. If you really have something that you would like or you want to do, just say it and don't hold expectations to it, right? But if you're worried that they're not going to do it, go buy it yourself, go do it yourself, right? But let go of expectations and just enjoy the day if you would like, or you can go be grumpy. I know some people just want to go get a hotel room and be alone. If that's you, then go for it, right? But just do what you want to do. So I'll be happy with my dirt, planting my plants. Hopefully, we're past all the frost and snow here in Utah. You never know, but hopefully, I can plant all my stuff this weekend as well. So, anyways, I'm not going to do a special Mother's Day episode. That was just my little bit of a reminder for you. Well, today on the podcast, we're diving into something that might be hard to hear. And usually those are the things that help us the most. But it's also incredibly freeing. The way our love as homeschool moms can sometimes feel like a cage to our kids. And maybe you don't even realize you've done this or you are doing this, but you rewrite your children's essays or rewrite things for them that you're supposed to turn in. Maybe you hover over every math mistake or hover over every word they write, everything that they're doing, and maybe you try to fix every emotion that they have or everything that they're doing. So raise your hand if you've ever done any of these things, right? Or a plethora of more. And I'm sure you meant well, but I want you to know something important. Love can accidentally turn into control when we parent from fear. So, today's episode is about how to recognize when our good intentions are actually holding our kids back and how to move from control to connection. So, anybody else here, whoever struggles with control, I still would love to control everything. Honestly, when we are like, have to go somewhere or do something, and my kids know I'm really good at getting stuff done. And they're like, hey, activate control mom mode, right? Like, let's get it done. So I'm like, yes, this is awesome. I'm totally there for it. So I want to dive into this today. And talking about the first thing is where this over control comes from. And you can guess it's not from love, it's not pride or selfishness, it's fear. And fear is such an interesting emotion, right? Because fear is so helpful if we are being chased, so helpful if we're in danger, but our body can't tell the difference between actual fear and just perceived fear, right? So a fear that we've just created in our brain cannot tell the difference. But it's interesting because our body will respond the same way, whether or not it is an actual fear or just an emotional fear. So it's something so good to be aware of. But there's fears that our kid won't succeed. I have to do this or my kid will fail. They're not going to succeed if I don't come in and do all of these things. Fear that we're not doing enough. How many homeschool mamas have I heard say this before? Like, I'm not doing enough. I should be doing more. And so, this fear and to really push yourself to do more, 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 your kids to do more, 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 more. Fear of judgment from others, right? Being different as homeschoolers, sometimes we feel like we're already an outcast, we're already a minority, and we're so afraid of what other people are maybe already saying, what they could say. And so, because of those fears, we change from love, from that connection to control. Sometimes our identity gets so wrapped up in our children's performance, especially as homeschool moms, that we start managing every detail. But as Dr. Shafali Sabari says, I hope I said his name right. Actually, I don't know if it's a boy or girl, says, when we parent from a place of fear, we smother our children with our anxieties and insecurities, projecting our unmet needs onto them. What we call love is often control in disguise. I love that line. We smother our children with our anxieties and insecurities, right? Because isn't that what we're doing when we're coming at this place from fear? That's our insecurity, that's our anxiety. And then we're putting it on our kid like perform, perform, perform. So I feel better because then I can tell myself I'm doing a good job. If you get this grade, and or the test score, right? Like, so some big test score. So SAT, ACT, if you get a really high score, I can feel good about myself. Or if you do this really impressive thing, then I'll feel good about myself, right? So that just that is from our own fear, our insecurities and anxieties. Julie Bogart also puts it in such a beautiful way. When we overhelp, overteach, overcorrect, we rob our children of the opportunity to develop self trust. Real learning flourishes in freedom, not perfection. And I love that um, just being there too much. And it's so interesting because with my first bunch of kids, I had so many kids, like I physically couldn't be there to help in every teeny tiny way. And I didn't realize what a blessing that was because it really helped them to become great problem solvers, to trust themselves, their independence. So it's been interesting as I have this last little guy and he's by himself. So this might be you if you have just one or two kids, right? That you physically could be there and you really could help and do some of these things. And so I have to actually intentionally make sure that I don't do those things just because now I have the time and I could, right? So that's why me working 1 day a week in the afternoon is really good because like I'm not available. And then if I am home and whatnot, I'm really encouraging him to try it by himself first. And it's been great with some of his big siblings when they come home and visit, like, buddy, you can do this. Like, you've got this. So if you have a lot of kids, it just kind of sometimes can happen naturally. And maybe it doesn't for you. Like, you're trying to solve everybody's problems and driving yourself crazy with that, right? Um, so really that being mindful of that over help, overreach, and overcorrecting. So, what does this suffocation look like in everyday life? So, one of the ways that I think the homeschool moms sometimes are guilty of, even more so than public school moms, is overscheduling their day with no downtime. And that would be definitely coming from a fear that my kids are going to be left out or behind. They're not doing what everybody else is doing. So I've got to put them all of this stuff, this downtime, this fear of downtime, like they're going to get into trouble or it's bad, right? Whatever those fears are of like, so now you're overscheduling your kid, which leads to so many behavior issues and usually leads to moms and dads exhaustion because they're driving everywhere, the financial investment, all of those things just from this overscheduling and no downtime. And we all need downtime. And especially children, they need time to not be scheduled. A big one I see a lot is constantly correcting, even during play or creative writing. And writing is one I see so often of this need of this parent to like, I've got to correct something. And I just don't know any professional writer that's like, you know what? I'm so grateful when I was in 8, 9, 10 years old that my teacher or my mom just constantly was critical and negative to me with my writing. And that really made me better, right? Like nobody is really inspired by that unless they're like, I was going to show somebody. So they're doing it from this spiteful energy, right? But like people don't flourish from criticism and being pulled down, right? So that's another way for suffocating because it even makes a child nervous. Like if you're correcting them during play, don't do that, do this, don't do that, right? You like you're micromanaging them. So they really start feeling suffocated and like, I can't even make a choice because I'm going to get in trouble. I can't do anything. Doing their projects for them because it's easier. And not only projects, but doing their chores for them because it's easier, doing their laundry for them because it's easier. Maybe feels easier now, but you are just suffocating them and really overwhelming yourself at the same time as well. And I see burnout after burnout when moms do this and resentment because they're teaching their kid and they're doing the cooking, the cleaning, the laundry, the grocery shopping, all of the things and their kid is just like stuck there because they're like, I can't make a move without my mom getting after me, getting mad at me and whatnot. And once again, causes a lot of behavior issues. This is one that I'm still working on answering for them when someone asks the question, that one is so tricky for me because I'm like, answer the question. Right. So, like, but totally doing it and not giving them their voice. And that's one I definitely am still working on with that one. Something else what suffocation can look like is solving every problem before they have a chance to. I actually heard the phrase not too long ago called lawnmower parent. So we have helicopter parent, right, who hovers over, but a lawnmower parent paves the way and tries to make things easier for you. So it's not even an obstacle. And that can be so suffocating because there's no growth, there's no pushing themselves. Every problem is solved before they even have a chance to make a mistake. And it feels very suffocating to a child. So you can think about the times when we step in, not because they truly need us, which is a time like if somebody's really struggling, that would be a time to step in, right? But because we are uncomfortable with their struggle. And it's really great to get really curious with that and look at it. What am I doing? Am I stepping in because they really need some help right now? Or am I stepping in because I'm uncomfortable with their struggling, with their frustration? I'm uncomfortable that they're going to fail at something, right? And so, really getting curious with that question. So, there are some hidden consequences as we maybe are over loving and turning it into control, that there's some consequences to our actions. And some of the things that happens, one of the things that happens is our kids lose confidence and they second guess themselves because if they are always being corrected and like you're doing it wrong, let me help you, let me get rid of all these problems, they don't trust themselves because they wait to be told what to do, right? They just don't have that confidence and they really second guess a lot of the decisions they make. A really consequence that really stinks is they don't learn how to solve problems, right? Because they haven't had to solve them. They haven't had some failures. They haven't had some mishaps. They haven't had some of these things. And so, because they haven't had an opportunity to solve these problems, they don't know how to solve problems as they become an adult, as they want to move out. Like, I want to move out, but I don't know how to, and I don't know how to figure this out, right? And life, you have to be solving problems all the time. So, you really want them to have that skill. Another one is they can develop anxiety or perfectionism, right? Because they were always, people were hypercritical with them. And so I've got to be perfect, or like I'm going to get in trouble. So that can show up in so many ways with the creating the anxiety, and then trying to be perfect so that they don't get criticized, so that they like don't feel that like they're letting somebody down, right? And then this is um, another one is they might rebel. So sometimes you can have a kid usually swing one way or another, where they become this people pleaser and this perfectionist and like anxiety ridden, or the other opposite is they rebel. Like, I am so sick of you trying to cage me. I'm so sick of you trying to suffocate me that you can't tell me what to do, right? So they rebel because they need some space. They want to make decisions. They maybe want to make mistakes. They want to breathe, right? And so you may have one of those two extremes of some of the consequences of that controlling. And so, even more painfully, we risk damaging the emotional connection. A child who feels constantly corrected can begin to pull away. And so, even if they don't become the full rebel, they can pull away. And you see this a lot during the teenage years. So, a younger child will still keep that connection with you because they want to be with you so bad. But as they enter those teenage years and then young adult and move out of the house, those adult years, if you have really suffocated them and really tried to control them, they will just pull away. And some will do it very quietly, right? And just like slowly slink away. And some of it will do it with very openly and very expressive of what they think about you. And maybe they'll even tell you. Okay. So there are freedom. What healthy support looks like. So, how do we shift? We don't want to swing from control and to absolute chaos where we do nothing, right? So, that's what I see a lot of times people, and I see this so much in coaching. It's like, okay, I'm not going to control, but then they don't do anything. And so, then the kids are wild and the behavior is still terrible. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not yelling, I'm not controlling, I'm not doing all of these things, and it's still out of control. So, we don't want to just go from super controlled to absolute chaos. We're always trying to come somewhere a little bit in the middle, and we want boundaries, right? So boundaries and just gives us freedom. So here are a few ways to start of helping them to support them while giving them boundaries. So let them lead in their learning. And you can do this in a lot of different ways. And this is especially as they become into those teen years, right? Of just like, what interests you? We're going to learn a science. What science do you want to do? What's something that you're super curious about? Is there something you want to know? I know one of my friends actually, as they got into their high school years, would find mentors. So if her kid was like, I think I want to be an entrepreneur, like, great, let's find a mentor for you in entrepreneurship. Fantastic. Let's do some of these things and try some of these things that might interest you. And that is a really great way. We actually just the other day with my 14-year-old when we were doing school, we were talking about school for the fall. And I said, hey, here are some ideas I've had for the fall. Because he's thinking he wants to start college his 10th grade year. So I was like, what do you feel like where you want to be more prepared? And so we're kind of talking to him, but then he was like, I think this is what I really would like to study with science this year. I find it so fascinating. I want to know more about it. And I was like, fantastic, great, let's do it. And some other things he doesn't love history like I do, which is fine. But he goes, I'm fine with what I'm doing for history, but I know where to go to if I want to know more about something. And I was like, fantastic. I already have a book on that. So just really letting them to start being more involved. So that could be, what do you want this week? Something you want to learn this week, something that you want to maybe do in school, something like that they feel like they have more of a decision making for their life. Another great thing to do to support them is encourage problem solving. Yes, 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 yes. I've been working with this client and a teen client, and it's been really interesting because she and her sister, they're both teens and older teens, and they fight a lot. And it's so interesting as I've been talking about it because I'm working with the teen, not the parent. And so it's this different way to look at it, but she doesn't have problem solving skills. And so I thought, oh man, like I wish I could like coach her parents and kind of talk with them of just like quit solving their problems. When your girls bicker and when they fight, teach them how to solve the problem instead of solving it for them. Because there are going to be problems in life. And so why not teach them how to solve it instead of solving it for them? So that is such a great one. And that's what do you think we could do here? Like that's what we do in family meeting every week in our house, right? Like, okay, this was an issue we had. What do you guys think we could do? How could we solve this? If it's during the week and they have a question about something, what do you think we should do? Huh. I wonder what an idea is. I even love talking. I was talking to my one daughter who's going to be leaving and just managing with some girls. And she was like, and I think it'd be great to do like a family meeting and we could kind of like, what was something like what went wrong last week? I can't remember how she worded it, but something like that. And I go, oh, that is a dangerous question. I said, if you want to ask something like that, like before you just say, hey, here's a problem with our family or here's a problem with our school, you have to come with the two possible solutions. And that is a great way to encourage problem solving is when it's like, okay, something isn't working. And instead of like, mom, fix it, dad, fix it, somebody fix it, like, okay, this isn't working. Now I have to come up with two ideas of how to fix it. So if your child comes like, mom, solve this, do this, and it's like, okay, this seems like it's pretty serious. Before I dive in, I want to hear two possible solutions from you first. I don't know what to do. This like sibling is the worst, or this subject is the worst, or this person in my life is the worst. And it's like, I hear you. What do you think we could do? Right. And really turning it over to them and really helping them. And that's what we do a lot of times in family meeting is just holding that space to make sure it doesn't get heated, make sure we're not insulting and or hurting anybody, right? I'm just like, what do you think we could do? How could we solve this? And then turning it over to the kids. What do you guys think? How do you think they could solve it? And just hearing all their ideas and allowing them the space to learn how to solve them. Um, Another way to have healthy support is allowing natural consequences to teach instead of rescuing. Are in a co op, they maybe take a class or two and they're really bad at it and they fail. Allow the natural consequences. Don't come in and save the day and write the paper, message the teacher, or solve all their problems. Allow those natural consequences. They don't show up for work and they get fired. You don't need to come in and save the day. Allow them the space to learn from their own mistakes. And those will be some really amazing teachers. Give them ownership over age appropriate tasks. Um, a lot of things with chores, right? Just different things where they maybe chores, handling conflict, work around the house, things like that. We even have our kids at 13 start buying a lot of their own clothes. And I've heard of some people who give their kids the money, but I don't know that that really teaches them the skill of responsibility because it's not their money. And so we have them, we buy all their basics still at 13, but anything extra they want, we have them buy it. And then as they get older, they get to buy other things, right? And at 16, we have them buy their cosmetics and their toiletries. So we're kind of easing into a little bit more responsibility, a little bit more responsibility. So as they move out of the house, it's not this huge shock of like, this is how much shampoo costs. Oh my gosh, I didn't know deodorant was this expensive or whatever, right? But really helping them slowly take over some of these responsibilities to so that you're just a support for them. And most importantly, let them fail in safe, supported ways. So, using language like I'm here to help, not to do it for you. Watching out for language like I told you so if they fail, right? But like, you've got this, I believe in you. Even like letting me know how I can help. So instead of like, oh, let me help you, but like, let me know how I could help you. So if they have something to do, they want to apply for a college application, they want to, for my kids go on a mission or whatnot, like, let me help you. And I told I was told my one of my friends, we got to meet, and we were laughing about my son with his mission because he kept saying, "I got it, I got it," and he did not have it, and he did fail, and he didn't get his visa in time because he didn't want my help with it, and that was a great natural consequence for him to learn how to do something, and then he ended up going to the country where he was supposed to go, but he didn't get to go to the missionary training center that he was supposed to go to because he didn't send in his passport and he didn't do a bunch of things. And that failure, quote unquote failure, it's just an opportunity to learn, like, oh, I made a mistake. And he owned the mistake, and there was no I told you so's. We laugh about it now, right? Even though it felt kind of frustrating in the moment, but just allowing them that space so they're not feeling so suffocated. So let's pause and really check in with ourselves and ask, am I parenting from fear or trust? And really looking in the mirror. And when we can look in the mirror and answer this question honestly, that is when we can have so much growth, right? And I did that just even with other things. Like I chose to yell, looking in the mirror and saying, I am parenting from fear. I am afraid my kid will be a reject from society, and so I try to control everything they do. I am afraid my kid will never get married, so I am always trying to do this. I'm afraid they'll never make friends, so I'm do this. I'm so afraid, whatever. And really look at that and think, what am I so afraid of? Why is that such a big fear? And really learn to start facing that fear of what's holding you back and why are you being so controlling in your parenting? Or swinging to chaos because you're so afraid you do nothing, right? Another question to ask yourself is, do I believe God equips my child with what they need? Do like, am I going to trust in God here and believe that He's here to help my kid? I'm going to trust in God that He's here to help me, right? Can I do some of those things? And another last question to ask yourself is, am I more focused on performance than on character? And those are just some really good questions for you to think about and ponder about, maybe journal and just think, wow, I'm way more worried about performance. And I love the question like, what would I do if I wasn't worried? What would my homeschool look like if I wasn't afraid of other people's opinions? How would I run our homeschool if I wasn't afraid of failing my kids? What would those look like? And those are usually the way that your homeschool would be amazing and super successful, all while helping your child be more independent and to not feel so suffocated from you. You don't have to have all the answers. Your willingness to grow alongside your child is one of the most powerful things you can model. As Julie Lithcott Hames says, it is doing the work of life that kids build the muscles of confidence and resilience. And Alfie Kahn reminds us children learn how to make good decisions by making decisions, not by following directions. So, Mama, remember this: your job isn't to control the outcome, but to guide the journey. Real love doesn't suffocate, it equips. It makes space for growth and says, I'm with you, not I'm doing this for you. This week, I want to challenge you to choose one area where you can step back and let your child step up. Watch what happens. I'd love to hear how it goes. So make sure you share your story with me on Instagram, send me a message, and I will be here next week. Friends, have a great one and a wonderful Mother's Day, and I'll talk to you next time.